Welcome into the NBA Morning Deuce. As the great Bruce Buffer would say, we are live. That's right. It's a live deuce. It's a live deuce, Alex. For the people. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, man.
In a few hours.
Yeah, a couple hours. But when the listeners are listening, happy Thanksgiving to those.
Other than the people who are watching us live, the thousands and thousands of people watching us live.
Well,
right
I
now.
care about I'm a true podcast guy, so I care about the listeners.
You are you're a pure podcaster. That's why I picked you as my co-host.
Yep.
That's right. I picked Alex, not the other way around. Don't get it twisted, people.
Well, that's got to be kind of obvious by listening to like one episode of the show.
Fair enough. So, you know what? I was watching earlier today. This is just totally off. This is not an NBA topic at all, but let some of the viewers trickle in. I was watching. Do you ever watch the Pat McAfee show?
No. I mean, I know people rave about the guy, and like I've seen like clips here and there, but never like tuned into it.
Well, let's put it this way. Obviously, I'm an NBA guy. I have 2 NBA podcasts. I worked in the NBA, so on and so forth. I like the NFL, but I'm not the type of person to sit and watch an NFL show. That guy is just pure talent. The guy like oozes every type of charisma and talent you want. So I watch that show every day. But what I learned today was that up in your neck of the woods in Philly, they stopped selling alcohol at 5 o'clock.
Really?
You didn't know that?
No.
In the state of Pennsylvania. So that's what made me have a drink tonight. Tonight's one of the biggest drinking nights of the year. It's probably the second biggest drinking night of the year after New Year's, because no one has to work tomorrow. So generally everyone goes to the bars. But I guess in some states, including Pennsylvania, they stop selling alcohol at 5 o'clock because of the vid. They don't want people going out to bars and being stupid. The vid.
Up in my neck of woods, we call it the Rona. If you're going to do
my brother calls it the herp.
Okay.
So there you go. There's that. So we thought, since you all have to stay home and booze, we'll booze with you. And we'll jump on here on YouTube, on the Underdog on YouTube, and talk a little basketball. Not a huge news day. There's a few things we're going to talk about. Have a little fun. We're going to talk who we think will be the face of the NBA when LeBron finally hangs it up. And this is not us saying we think LeBron needs to hang it up. And in fact, if you listen to the podcast, you probably know we don't think he's hanging it up, at least in the next 2, 3, 4 years. I don't know. Guy could go for another 10 the way he's playing. But when he finally does, who will it be? And also, for those of you who have been watching our YouTube videos the last week or so, we see your comments, and we're going to answer towards the end of the show, answer some of them, respond. If you have things throughout the show that you want us to answer, this is sort of a wide open episode because there's not a lot of news to react to. There's not a ton of stuff. We're going to do some headlines real quick here off the top. But if there's stuff you want us to answer and stuff you want us to talk about, there's stuff you hear us say that you think is wrong because we're drinking and this time it's false, put it in the comments. We'll throw you up on the screen and we'll have a little bit of fun. But on the topic of the future of the NBA, I was on I was doing some research for the show. I was on the old Bovada Sportsbook earlier today trying to look at MVP futures. Very interesting stuff. Very interesting. We'll get into those when we get into that future conversation. But the other thing I noticed that I would not have known unless I went to the Bovada today was college basketball is playing. There are college basketball games going on. I didn't know that. I had no idea college basketball started today until I went to Bovada and I saw all the odds going, like live odds, all that stuff. Did you know?
No, I didn't even think there was college classes going on. Not that really matters for college basketball.
Yeah, I don't think it. Yeah.
No, actually, I was flipping. I watch TV, Joey. I don't know. That's surprising. I'm one of the last people.
Yeah.
Right. I watch TV, and I was flipping past ESPN, and Scott Van Pelt, I believe, this was late last night, was talking about the start of college basketball. So I did not know that it actually started, but it just sounds like they're kind of all over the place with the tournament and everything like that. But I did know it was around the corner.
Well, I see how big of a shit show like the NFL and college football. I mean, college football is a mess too. Like teams are having to cancel games and not playing for a month at a time and all that shit. So I don't understand how college basketball can do it. I'm afraid about the NBA, but at least the NBA, there's a ton. I mean, I guess there's a ton of money in college sports too, but like private organizations, they can pay certain, they can figure it out. I think a lot clearer. There's one governing body as opposed to all these schools that don't know what the hell's going on. I don't know how college basketball is going to survive. I feel like wasn't there already a school? I saw a headline. I think there's already a school who had to cancel some stuff because of COVID.
I think might have been Baylor. Does that sound right? I don't really. I mean, if all
Oklahoma maybe, or
I'm not sure.
No, Baylor's. Oh yeah, Baylor's head Scott Drew. I think he got COVID. I think you're right.
Yeah, they're in trouble. But this is an NBA podcast, Joey.
Right.
I don't really give a hoot.
I will say this. I was on the Twitter before the show, and apparently Marvin Bagley's brother plays for Arizona State, and he's balling out.
Okay.
Marvin Bagley. So that's a name to keep an eye on. Same size, 6'8", but it looks like maybe he's a little more of a wing player.
Okay.
So I got
Marvin Bagley's only 6'8". I thought he was a solid 6'10". No.
Okay, maybe.
Okay.
He might be. I could be off on that, but he's in that range.
Okay. Gotcha.
I think Amari was listed at 6'10" for a lot of his career, and then he's like 6'8.5", 6'9". It depends on if they're wearing shoes or not.
Right.
I got an alert. I got to watch the highlight in a little bit. Mac McClung apparently had a nice play. I don't know. That's it. This is all I'm going to know about college basketball because I don't like college. I don't like watching college basketball. I like prospects. I like
McClung.
Mac McClung.
Mac McClung. So nephew of? Do you know?
Somebody else named McClung?
Riff Raff, the rapper.
What?
Literally, Google it right now. Mac McClung. I'm thinking of the right guy. White guy that jumps like crazy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is Riff Raff. It's Riff Raff's nephew, I believe.
Hold on. Riff Raff related to. Let's throw this up here. It says rapper Riff Raff, who is McClung's cousin.
Damn
the
it.
point guard is a future NBA All-Star, but this is also just like the first Google answer. But yeah, I think a lot of it says rapper Riff Raff says his high-flying cousin could take LaMelo. Yeah. So it's cousin. But hey, they're related, which is
I'm a big picture guy. That's I'm not about the detail.
You're a family guy. That's what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
You know about family.
Mm-hmm.
So all right, let's talk about some NBA. So we'll do some headlines real quick before we get into who the future of the NBA is. First thing to talk about, good news today. Klay Thompson, successful surgery to repair his Achilles. He's expected to make a full recovery, but will obviously miss this season. But always good news, right? To hear that it went well, and hopefully he'll be back. I love to see what happens with KD this year to sort of gauge what could potentially happen when Klay comes back, same injury, all that stuff. By the way, YDK for real. What do you think of OKC's future with all the picks? We'll address that in a few minutes.
I almost cut you off. To make sure we address that, but we're going to get there. Yeah,
see your comment. Stick around. We'll answer that here in a few minutes. We're going to get through the headlines. But anyways, Klay, good news. I mean, there's not a whole lot to say here other than it's good. It's good news for him. I'm always going to be concerned when, a guy has this injury, but they say he's supposed to make a full recovery. So we'll see.
Do you hear Steph was in tears? It's right. Man, we talked about it. The injury just sucks, but Steph, I mean, these guys were so ready for their revenge tour, and it just doesn't surprise me. Steph was really emotional about it, apparently.
Yeah, well, I will say this: two things. One, I don't know if you watched the Kelly Oubre press conference, like his introductory press conference. But one thing is,
hi, Daddy.
That's first off. By the way, Brian Can't Cook just right as I said that said, "Hi, Daddies, big fan over here."
Was that you saw the comment and played that, right? Or
no, I played it right as it came in.
Oh, that's unreal, because I saw them at the same time and I thought you were just like really quick on the trigger there.
No,
the timing of that was crazy.
So are we bringing back FanDuel Fridays during the season? And who's your way too early FanDuel sleepers? Oof, way too early FanDuel sleepers is tough because we don't know all the teams. But I would say keep an eye on the Pistons for that. We'll talk about that in a second. But I would say keep an eye on the Pistons because they're going to suck, but somebody's got to put up numbers. First of all, Kelly Oubre. Oh, well, just for the people who missed it.
Hi, Daddy.
That press conference was great. I think he's going to have a great year with them. But also worth mentioning, since we won't talk about him in the future faces of the NBA, Bovada has Steph Curry with the third best odds behind Luka and Giannis to win MVP this year. And that's gone up since the Klay injury. I think there's a lot of people putting money on Steph now that doesn't have Klay. They think his numbers are going to go crazy.
I like that bet. I mean, I don't know about third shortest odds, but I could definitely see him winning MVP. I'm just saying if it were my own money, I wouldn't be super excited about those odds. If I was going to bet on Steph Curry.
Yeah, I think part of the reason why I wouldn't bet on Steph Curry either is because I think MVP voters learned their lesson with Russell Westbrook that a guy on a decent team is not going to be voted MVP just for having good numbers. It's got to be both. And even though the Warriors will probably still be a playoff team this year, they're not going to be what we hope they would be without Klay.
Yeah,
they're not going to be a top half of the West team, which is not going to be good enough, I think, unless he averages 35 a game, right? But even when Kobe did that and the Lakers were not great, he didn't win MVP. Steve Nash did. So you got to be on a good team, I think, and I think MVP voters learned that with the Russ stuff. But good news on Klay. Happy about that. Next bit of news. This is great. This is great news. I wish I could play like some like I'm Coming Home or some type of homecoming type of music because the prodigal son returns. He has returned to Sacramento. Hassan Whiteside returns to the place over a decade ago that gave him the opportunity to play NBA basketball, Sacramento. Hassan Whiteside has signed a contract just, what was it, one day after we talked about how we thought he would hold out and he wouldn't sign anywhere for a while.
Did I say I swear, we're going to have to check the tape. I swear in my head, I was thinking this seems like a perfect match, him and the Kings.
Well, they drafted him.
Yeah. I'm just saying
that they were the ones who allowed him to con the rest of the NBA into thinking he was a legitimate NBA player and giving him lots of money.
Yeah.
So
not good for him. Man,
there's something in my mind where I'm like, Hassan Whiteside is talking to his agent. He's like, you know what? Last time I went to Sacramento, I got a big deal. So I'll take a 1 year in Sacramento and I'll prove it again. He's going to get numbers. The guy, we know about Hassan, he's going to put up big, big numbers. But that team, he's the new Dwight Howard. Everywhere he goes, he ruins the situation. Now, obviously until this year with Dwight. But before Dwight joined a team with LeBron James, everywhere he went, he ruined their whole situation. Mm-hmm. For a while, after he left Orlando, everywhere he went, it became just a mess. This is the Hassan Whiteside thing.
So
they were a mess in the end. When they got rid of him, they turned things around after he left. Portland went from Western Conference Finals to barely a playoff team with him. And now he goes to Sacramento, who's already a mess, but loses Bogdanovich. Buddy Hield today. Blue Wire, who's a podcast company, put out a tweet that it was like Buddy Hield when he sees that this Kings plan for him to be part of their core, and it's just a kid crying, and Buddy Hield liked it.
Ooh, that's actually hilarious. Why would you do that, dude?
Yeah, so I'm saying they're already a mess, and now they bring this clown into the picture, right? So, But hey, Hassan Whiteside gets to play NBA basketball for another year. Good for him. I mean, he should be. He's super talented. Clearly super talented, and the numbers are absurd, but we see the writing on the wall here. Luke Walton, farewell. You know what I mean?
I mean, they've got the replacement right there.
Right.
Their co-assistant head coach. What's his official title?
Associate head coach, I'm sure.
Okay.
That's usually what it is for these guys. But yeah, Whiteside back to the Kings. Woohoo! The prodigal son. 10 years later, he makes his return. All right, last thing for headlines. Giannis. So this report came out today. Jake Fisher from Bleacher Report says that Giannis preferred his preferred offseason acquisition was Bogdan Bogdanovic, who we all know now. We know the story. They had a sign and trade in place. The league investigated it. Bogdanovic ended up not deciding not to sign his restricted free agent deal with the Bucks. Ends up in Atlanta. The Kings don't match. Bogdanovic will be in Atlanta, but apparently Giannis and his brother, I've never known how to say it, Thanasis, I think, who's also on the Bucks, were in touch with Bogdan a few times this offseason and expressed that they wanted him. And now this report is saying that the source says that even if Giannis signs the Supermax, the confidence level of him staying is not super high. And there's another report that came out today that he may have some type of deal in place similar to what Paul George had in OKC, where it's like, I'll sign the Supermax, but I have the right to request a trade if things go south, which I don't understand how that even works. Like from an organizational standpoint, like why would you agree to something like that? But
well, when you're the Bucks, you don't have much. I mean, you're at his mercy if you're the Bucks, right? You're not gonna be like, thanks, but no thanks if he comes to the table with that, right? You're gonna be like, okay, let's do it, just to get the name on the dotted line, yeah.
And try to convince him that you can keep him around, that you can make him happy. Yeah. Also, according to the same guy, it said at least one rival team filed a complaint about the deal. Who did it? Was it Miami? You think it was Miami?
Maybe. Wait, filed a complaint about
the deal, like that basically probably filed a complaint saying the same shit we were saying, which is like, how can they have a deal for a sign and trade for a restricted free agent when you can't even talk to free agents yet?
Oh, I see. So like a complaint as in like go look and see.
Tampering.
Yeah, what happened here?
Like, how is this possible? How could they have talked to him and gotten him to agree to a sign and trade when they're not even allowed to talk to free agents? Mm-hmm. So it says at least one rival team. I mean, Miami.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the Bucks don't really have like a rival team. So
right. Well, it's got to
be any team in the East. Yeah,
Austin, Miami, Brooklyn.
I could see Danny Ainge doing that shit. Probably.
Oh yeah. Maury? No, maybe. Who knows?
Maybe. That's kind of what I like. It just blows my mind that dudes like Woj and Shams weren't like on top of that when the news was breaking. I guess they assumed that the whole restricted free agency was worked out. Like, no, but we didn't see it anywhere where people were like, wait a second.
How can they trade for free agent?
Yeah.
Trade. Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy. I mean, that one, especially if he leaves, that is going to be an all-timer, I think. An all-time just screw up.
Yeah. And of course it had to do with the Kings.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how much I buy this report, to be honest. Like, okay. Did Giannis want Bogdanovic? Maybe. Bogdanovic is a good player, but I don't see Bogdanovic being the difference between Giannis staying with the Bucks and not staying with the Bucks, like in terms of being like, this is the guy I want to play with. I have no idea. I don't know what their relationship is. I don't know how friendly they are or whatever. But it seems like a huge leap to be like, Giannis wanted Bogdanovic, and now that he didn't get him, that's going to be the straw. I think the straw is we can't put together a good team. It's not specifically about Bogdanovic, right?
And they did get better.
But exactly, they did get better, and they've had the best record in the NBA 2 years in a row. So the chances of them going to the championship this year is very high. So it's I don't know. It just seems like a leap for whoever this source is. But oh well. I mean, we'll see what happens. I do believe that they're not confident that he's going to stay, because I wouldn't be confident he's going to stay. If you don't go to the finals this year, he probably doesn't stay. The thing is if he signs the Supermax, they got to make a deal. And we're going to address that with one of the comments later on, because one of our commenters made a good point about potentially where Giannis could land in a deal. So we'll talk about that later on. So we'll see what happens with Giannis. I think he signs the Supermax, but again, if he has that Paul George thing where I don't even understand how that could work. I don't think that could be written into a contract. I think maybe it's just like an agreement. Like, all right, we tried. Now we'll trade you. But I don't know where that benefits, especially a team like the Bucks.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it with OKC because Sam Presti wants 500 draft picks, but I don't know about the Bucks. We'll see. All right, let's talk about our fun topic for today that we've been sort of chatting about this. We were going to do like top 5 players in 2025 or like something like that, but I think we're just going to go generally. We've talked about LeBron. He's still clearly the face of the league, and we don't know how. We feel like he could play for another 5-6 years at a high level. I feel like, because the way he looks, the way he takes care of himself and all that, but eventually he's got to go. And I was thinking today, because I recently was just talking to Raja Bell, who I worked with when I was at CBS. And actually, when I produced him and I was on the show with him, I posed the question before last season, based off of Luka's rookie year, do you think, because I think the majority of people were like, it's Giannis's league, right? Giannis is next. He's the next up. And I posed the question, do you think Luka could potentially be overtaking him for that, after Giannis? Could it be
after
Luka?
LeBron?
I mean, after LeBron, yes, sorry. And he was like, no way. He's like, the league is making a big push on Giannis. He's the guy. I'm thinking now, I'm not saying it is Luka. That's what the discussion is. But I don't think it's so locked in anymore that Giannis is the next guy to be the face of the league. Maybe one of the faces, one of those top level guys. And again, now the answer also we can discuss may not be anybody. There may just for a while not be enough face like an MJ or a LeBron. But right. Giannis looked like he had a really good shot, and he still now has stuff to prove. And I think looking at the Bovada odds, like I said, Luka has the best odds at plus 300, which is really, really good odds to win MVP this year, even though it's early. And then Giannis is 2 to become back-to-back-to-back MVP. There's no shot. I don't care how good his season is. Voters are very biased, and unless he wins they have to vote in the regular season. So, they're not going to give it to him. They're just not going to give it to him. He would have to have such a historic year to get MVP again for the 3rd year in a row, because of the fact that he's lost 2 years in a row in the playoffs. Like it's weird how that works, but voters this year are going to look at the last 2 years in the playoffs and be like, well, look what happens. Every year we give him MVP and then he loses in the playoffs. So how could he be the best player in the NBA?
It's true. And that's perfect case in point is how few MVPs LeBron has. Like LeBron could have won MVP like 7 years in a row
last year.
But there is that kind of like voter fatigue. I don't know what you want to call it, but yeah, I would be stunned if Giannis gets a 3rd one. But to the question of face of the NBA after LeBron, I think titles are going to be the main focal point. Like if somebody goes back to back, gets 2 titles, or wins 3 out of 4. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but that star of that team will become the face of the NBA. And I have a dark horse here in Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum, like how many times during the playoffs?
Yeah, too.
How many times during the playoffs were we messaging each other like, Jesus, like he's just unstoppable right now. I think he has another step forward to go. So that's kind of my dark horse.
I'm surprised. Okay, go ahead. No,
well, Zion. I know I'm going to get.
That's why I was surprised you didn't say Zion.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing. I think Zion has a shot, but he's going to have to take a huge step this year, and he's going to have to show early, like quickly, that he's that guy. And if he even loses even an ounce of his explosiveness, it's going to be hard for him to be that guy, because that's his whole game. I saw a picture where he lost a lot of weight. It looked like if he just becomes a regular wing player, I'm not sure what he is anymore, because the whole idea, the whole allure of Zion is that he's this jacked, gigantic freak, but like this stubby 6'6", but jacked like monster who is the best athlete, according to a couple of scouts I've talked to, the best athlete they've ever seen in the NBA, period, and in any generation. But if he loses all that weight, now he's just another wing player who's only 6'6".
Right. I'm hoping the weight loss isn't drastic. I mean, he's not going to, hopefully he doesn't lose his strength, because that's kind of the appeal of watching him play, is how goddamn strong the guy is. Yeah. You know what? YDK, for real, I was about to mention Ja.
Hold on. So, He said, I'm going with Luka. YDK for real says, I'm going with Luka. The dude is putting up almost triple-double sophomore year, and he's better than Giannis. Giannis just runs and dunks. Luka can do everything. He's way more talented. So here's the thing. Don't agree that Giannis just runs and dunks. He was defensive player of the year. I do understand where you're coming from. I think Luka has a higher upside because his offensive game is more polished already in his second year in the league. And what do he average? He averaged like close to 30 a game, right? And close to a triple-double. Took a team that probably shouldn't have been as competitive as they were in the playoffs to almost, he won 2 games essentially by himself against the Clippers, who were supposed to be one of the best defensive teams in the league. And here's the thing, with Luka and Giannis, I think the next face of the league is going to be an international player. And I think the machine is going to get behind an international player. And that's why I think these two guys, whether it's Luka or Giannis, has the head, like what's the word I'm thinking? The push. Like, I think the league will be behind those two guys more so than just your general player, other than maybe like a guy like Zion. These other guys that we're talking about have a chance, but it's going to have to be performance based because the league's not getting behind Jason Tatum. Like, Tatum's going to have to go out and win championships and win finals MVPs for it to happen. Just the same way, like, it was never going to be Kevin Durant unless he won in OKC and beat LeBron and did that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Kevin Durant, for a minute, people said was the best player on the planet. Right or wrong, there was that prevailing thought that he was becoming better than LeBron, particularly when he won finals MVP. But the league was never getting behind Kevin Durant as the face because LeBron was still there. I think that's where, outside of, to me, Luka, Giannis, and now Zion, anybody else we discuss, and it's all up in the air once LeBron goes away. Like, Tatum is a great option because he's so good. They have more of an uphill battle because the league, in terms of who they putting on national television, who's getting promoted, who's getting the commercials, who can they market overseas? Like, can you market Jason Tatum in Europe? Can you market Jason Tatum in China? I think you can market a Giannis or a Luka overseas. So that's where and I understand that that's not who's the best player, but that's not the question. The question is who's the face. As far as his other question, what about Ja? I don't know your thoughts, but YDK, for real, to answer it, if you've listened, if this is your first time watching the show, thank you so much. And thank you for commenting. Great questions. I'm not a point guard guy. I think it's the deepest position in the NBA. And for that reason, it's hard to become the face of the league as a point guard. Point guards don't win you championships as the best player on your team. Historically, there's very few point guards who have ever been the best player on a championship team. And to Alex's point, championships is going to be the key here. Like, you're going to have to win some championships to be the face of the league. Will Memphis win a championship? They still have a long way to go. Ja will be an all-NBA player. Ja will be one of the best point guards in the NBA. He'll be a top 2 or 3 or 4 point guard for a long time. He is an absolute stud. I just don't think he could be the face of the NBA. I think he could be like every other. I think he could be like Russ. I think he could be like Chris Paul. I think he could be like what all these guys have been, who have never been face level players, like the premier guy in the NBA. But I don't think he'll ever get to. But he'll be, potentially Hall of Fame level point guard, which is, hey, not bad, right?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I knew you were going to go with the point guard situation there. Yeah, it would take a lot. It would take like 2 titles for Memphis. Who knows? Maybe Jaren Jackson takes like an insane step forward. I don't know. Like, I just don't see it. I just don't see like enough juice in Memphis for Ja to become the face of the NBA. That's what like we have to focus on. Like, the scope of this is really huge. It's not like a small title here. To be the face of the NBA is, think about where LeBron's at right now. And
you also have to take into consideration, like, who have been the faces, at least since I've been alive, right? So since 1986, I was born in 86. The faces of the NBA were Bird and Magic, both essentially. Magic is technically a point guard, but he's 6'9". He's a wing player. Larry Bird, wing player. Michael Jordan, wing player. Kobe Bryant, wing player. And then LeBron, wing player. Now, between MJ and LeBron, you could argue that there were different people. That was one of those times that maybe we're entering, where like Shaq was dominant, Tim Duncan was dominant, Kobe was Iverson was a face. So maybe we're entering that where all of these guys are in the conversation. But I don't know what my point was. Oh, my point was wing players generally have been the face of the league. It used to be bigs like way back, Bill Russell, Wilt, Kareem, those kind of guys. But it has transitioned. Again, YDK for real. This guy's on fire. What about AD? Great question. He's still pretty young, but the problem becomes
how ugly he is. He can't be the face of.
Well, he's got branding, right?
Yeah.
I guess the question becomes, he's probably if LeBron doesn't retire for 4 years, then by the time LeBron retires, AD is going to be 30 something, 30, 31.
Probably right at there. I think he's 26, maybe turning 27.
There's no question that he'll be, because I think what did we say? I mean, we were saying in the playoffs, he might be the second best player in the NBA right now.
Yep.
But by that time, for the league to market him as their premier guy would be tough because he's on the back half of 30, may potentially wrapping his career, right? Like, I don't know. I don't know that he talent wise, he might be the best player in the NBA once LeBron's gone. But in terms of being the guy that the league focuses on. Now, again, Giannis is 25. If LeBron stays at this level for 5 more years and Giannis is 30, then Giannis might not be in that question by that time either. Because the thing is, like you said, it's about championships. If Giannis doesn't win a championship or even go to a championship in the next 2 or 3 years, people are going to start turning on him. I mean, it's already started.
His legacy is going to sour badly if he doesn't get a title in the next 2 years. I mean, it's already started, like you said.
Go to a title. I think he has to get there. I think people, because as long as you get there, I think, because like I think about Jimmy Butler, like for me, right now, obviously
180 on Jimmy Butler,
different levels, right? But I hated Jimmy Butler before this year, and it turned out it was the situation, right? So, if Giannis can take a decent Bucks team to a championship, not necessarily win, but get there, I think perception will be, well, he got there, but it was the Bucks. What would he have done on the Lakers or the Heat or whatever? So I think he's just got to prove that he can get them there. He's got to get further than the second round and getting fucking stomped.
Yeah, that can't happen again. Yeah,
and by a 5 seed, like this year really crushed him. It crushed Kawhi too, I think, in some ways. Less, I think people, for some reason, people are not shitting on Kawhi as much as I have been for what he did in the playoffs. But I think he's another guy. They got to go to the finals next year. And I know that's a big leap to say, but I think his legacy, even 2 championships, 2 finals MVPs, I think if they don't do something this year, we're going to look back on Kawhi and be like, great player, Hall of Fame level player, but putting him in a conversation with best in the world with LeBron was maybe a little premature.
It's possible. But I also do think they have a legit shot to go to the finals this year. But yeah, it's going to. Well,
there's a lot of reports out there of people saying that that they're not done, that they're getting ready to make some big moves. And then today a report came out that they're probably going to move Lou Will, that they want a completely fresh start type of atmosphere. So we'll see what happens with that. But Kawhi, how old is Kawhi? Do you know off the top of your head?
I want to say 29.
Yeah, so he's not in the comment. Yeah, good guess.
It was not a guy. I knew he was 29.
Oh, good guess.
For this conversation.
By the way, on Bovada, Jason Tatum is plus 1,200. He has the 1, 2, 3. He's tied with AD, LeBron, KD. Oh, no, sorry. Nope. Luka's 1. Steph actually has the second best odds to win MVP. Plus 550. Giannis is plus 650 on Bovada. And then AD, LeBron, and KD are all tied at plus 900. And then Jason Tatum is right after those guys at plus 1,200.
That's that's a lot of value right there. You're winning a lot of money for Jason Tatum, and I do not think that's out of the question with the stats he's about to put up. especially playing these.
When you look at the guys below him, I don't think there's anybody else on the list below him that has a shot. Like then it goes Harden, Dame, Kawhi, Embiid, Kyrie, Jimmy Butler, Donovan Mitchell, Jokic. Jokic is an interesting one. Jokic, I actually would say,
if they had the number one, if they finished first in the West somehow, like I don't know,
if it comes out and because here's the thing with Jokic. Jokic isn't. Listen, let's talk about Nikola Jokic because I'm not saying that this guy could be the face of the NBA, but he's 25 years old. If this guy comes out next year and he's like, you know what, I'm gonna average 30, he could do it. And he's one of the most skilled big men we've ever seen in the history of the league. And he does things that wing players do. Like he's got Dirk with more skill. If he wanted to assert himself as a scorer, he could be that kind of guy.
Right.
And imagine if LeBron stepped away in 3 years and this guy was 28 years old in the prime of his career, averaging 28, 10, and 10 as a 7-footer.
Yeah. I see what you're saying.
That's a dark horse right there.
A dark horse. I do not think it behooves the Nuggets for him to average 30 a game. I don't know if that sounds ridiculous or not, but
different conversations, but I understand.
Yeah, like I agree, maybe talent-wise it's possible, but I think the Nuggets are they're so set for the future and they shouldn't tinker too much with,
they're pretty damn good when he scores a lot of points.
Well, yeah, but averaging 30 a game, I mean, that's
the best team.
I think that's crazy.
Generally have like guys who just go out there and get it. Right? Like you don't win often with teams that have like 6 guys averaging 15 a game, right? You have 1 or 2 guys.
Right. Yeah, no. I mean, but he could average 26 a game. But I mean, that leap to 30 is like insane. That would get you an MVP.
Average 30, but if he averages 26, 10, and 10,
then he's
very close to every year. Last year he averaged I'm looking up because I'm looking at it. 19.9. So, yeah, if he goes up to 25, 26 a game this year, he's in the MVP conversation. Also, if he averages 26 a game this year, they're probably winning more games in the regular season. They have a shot to have the best record in the West. Like, this is a very good team. Losing Jeremy Grant's going to hurt, but also they have Michael Porter Jr. We'll see what his next leap is. But Jokic being you forget because when you look at him,
he looks like he's 30.
He looks older than me.
Yeah.
He looks older than you. 25 years old. Dude, I'm almost a decade older than this guy.
That's scary.
Yeah, that is.
How about this? For this conversation, what if the guy that is the face of the NBA after LeBron is not in the league yet?
So I thought about that, and I was going to bring that up. I wish we were well versed enough to know, right?
Right.
Because from what I see, there's this kid Cade Cunningham who will be the number 1 pick next year. But everyone says it's consensus that the kid Amani Bates, who will be in college basketball, not this year, but next year, I think. He's younger, is the next dude. He's that dude. Like that, he's the next big thing. It's possible.
I mean, and it doesn't
I don't know enough about him.
Right. It doesn't take that long into a career to become the face of the NBA. Like Jordan was the face of the NBA in his 3rd year, probably. Well, LeBron,
also, right. And also to your point of it being a guy like an Amani Bates, if LeBron plays for 4 more years, we will have already probably developed what we think about all the guys we're talking about, right? So 4 years from now, we'll have an opinion on Zion. We'll have a final opinion on Luka. We'll have definitely a final opinion on Giannis. But even if Bates is in the league for 2 or 3 years, we're still going to be saying, well, what could he be? And then if LeBron leaves, now is the league getting behind the next thing? Because we love shiny things, right? Like we love the next big thing. There might be another guy this year that we just don't know. Like Trae Young could come out and average 35 a game this year, and he could be Steph. Because for a little bit, you would have said Steph.
Right? No, you're right. Guys come out of Derrick Rose came out of nowhere with that MVP year.
Westbrook.
Yep.
He got drafted top 5. Everyone was like, holy shit, what are they doing? And the guy becomes the first player since Oscar Robertson averaged a triple-double. Never became a championship or a face of the league, but he had a chance. Like I remember legitimately doing stuff at CBS with guys like Rip Hamilton and Raja Bell, where they were saying like he's the best player in the league, top 2 player in the league. And I was always like, you guys are out of your fucking minds, right? Like if that's not recency bias, I don't know what is. But so, yeah, I mean, it could be someone totally different next year. Looking at the looking at the MVP odds on Bovada, you got, Jokic is a guy who I think is a really interesting one. Really
For
interesting.
MVP or for face of the league? I don't think there's any shot that guy becomes the face of the league. He just doesn't have honestly, the it factor. He's not cool enough.
Hilarious.
He is, but he's not cool enough to be the face of the league. The NBA won't push that.
Being a nerd is cool now. Like, it's a cool thing to be a nerd in certain sectors of the population.
I tell myself that every day to boost my own confidence, but I don't think the NBA is behind that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's funny, but how about Rodney Hale wants to know, what do we think about Giannis joining the Lakers? What I think it'd be interesting. I don't know that it's realistic.
I'm trying to think of a scenario where that works.
Well, if AD signs a 1-1, then he turns down his player option next year. Then they can probably sign Giannis and then bring back AD on bird rights.
Right. Defensively, what are you even supposed to do against them? That would be.
Yeah. Also, it's like the Lakers are clear favorites to win another title this year, and if they're going to be back-to-back champions and add Giannis, it's like, yeah, I think it'd be great.
That really would. That would be pretty. That would be the best big three of all time, I think, so far. Garnett, Pierce, and Ray Allen, when that happened, I was like, okay, that's the best big three. And then LeBron, Bosh, and Wade, I think that became the greatest big three of all time. If Giannis went to the Lakers and it was Giannis, AD, and LeBron, that's the greatest big three of all time.
Rodney, breaking news on NBA Morning Deuce. A lot of people are saying
done deal.
Whoa. Whoa. Rodney, people are saying it's a done deal, like there's something in the works, or you're saying, like what I was saying, that AD will opt out of a 1-1 and go there next year? Let us know, Rodney. But anyways, that's done deal. All right, here we go. Breaking news on the NBA Morning Deuce at night. NBA Morning Deuce at night. A lot of people are saying that Giannis to Lakers is a done deal, according to Rodney. But I'll say this: if Giannis goes to the Lakers, so long being the next face of the NBA.
Right.
Ain't nobody going to join up with LeBron. That's part of the reason why AD won't become the next face of the NBA either. You're not going to join up with LeBron James and then become the face of the NBA, because anything you do with LeBron James, there's going to be half the population that's going to say, well, he joined up with LeBron, so come on. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, see, YDK, not enough cap space, bro. But again, YDK, if AD still hasn't signed his he's still a free agent. He hasn't signed a deal yet. He could sign a 1-1 and keep flexibility for next year. Hey, doubling down. It's in the works.
For next year. I have seen what Rodney.
Very vague and cryptic messages from Rodney Hale. It's in the works. But
I have seen that. I've seen it.
Yeah, I've also seen Giannis the Heat. I've seen Giannis. It's just like Harden. It's like Chris Paul. It's like everybody. When there's a guy of this caliber that could potentially be moving teams, he's going everywhere. He might be on the Pistons. Who knows? Maybe the Pistons are loading up on all of these power forwards so that they can offer the Bucks 4 power forwards and centers to replace Giannis. You heard it here first. You heard it here first. I think the cops are coming to get me for that take. I heard it or maybe that was coming on your side. You didn't hear it?
I heard it, but I'm amazed because I'm in a different room. We shouldn't. That's a loud siren if we did hear it.
On my side. Might have been on my side. Just for you, YDK, for real, and Rodney Hale, if this is your first time watching, Alex lives in a war zone up in Philly. So there's a lot of sirens, a lot of people screaming and yelling. You never really know. But you would think in Philly tonight, since they stopped serving alcohol at 5:00, things would be pretty quiet.
Not necessarily, because they tipped everybody off. They loaded up early, and they were boozed by 5:00. Yeah,
people were just roaming the streets, boozing and fighting each other.
I literally got. You know how you can get like like your phone will go off because of an Amber Alert or like a stolen vehicle.
Sure.
My phone went off about the rising COVID cases, which is crazy, and I didn't like.
I got that a while back.
Did you?
A long time ago down here. Yeah.
So there was probably a link. Like I didn't click the link, but I'm assuming the link would have taken you to the page that says, essentially get your alcohol by 5 o'clock or you're screwed. So,
is there anybody else that we haven't mentioned that could be that's currently in the NBA that could be in this?
I mean, the trenches. No, it's a nice part of South Philly. This isn't West Philadelphia.
Why don't you? What's your address? Why don't you let them know?
I'm not going to dox myself on YouTube. Geez, all right. Another guy in the league. I mean, I was prepared for that question, and I honestly was going to say Ja as like just a possibility.
No offense to.
How about Karl Anthony Towns?
Nope.
He'd have to win championships.
From a talent standpoint, sorry, I'm pouring myself a little more to drink. From a talent standpoint, absolutely. I mean, right now, I think people already sleep on how good he is talent wise. He shot 40% from three last year and took like 8 threes a game. I don't think as long as he stays in Minnesota, I don't think he's ever going to win enough. I've also heard some things about him. I don't know. I don't think he's like what?
Sorry, what? We're on the Timberwolves. What if Anthony Edwards' rap career blows up to the point where he wins, like, I don't know, he's runner-up MVP a couple years, and his mixtape is like insane. He could become the face of the NBA.
Well, if you want to become the face of the NBA, he's already kind of started on the right track by talking about Dame.
Yeah,
saying that he didn't know what Dame was rapping about. Now CJ McCollum has called out Anthony Edwards and told him to focus on his jump shot. So now there's already an NBA beef there, right?
That's fun. That's kind of fun.
But it is fun, and now we get to see. I saw a video of Anthony Edwards rapping. I'll tell you what, there are much worse NBA rappers.
Okay, I got to check that out.
But he's very much like the new age of rappers, which I'm all for, but it's not really my thing.
Right. I appreciate. I'm going to check it out because I can appreciate. I talked about that on here. Yeah, I'm kind of a connoisseur of that sort of rap.
There's a very new. There's a new like style of rap.
Yeah.
I'm just not. It's okay. A lot of it reminds me. A lot of this is total off the path of what we're talking about, but there's a new style of rap and like I guess hip hop in general that strikes me very much like punk music when I was like growing up. Like I hear some of this music, it's very like emo and very emotional, and that's not a bad thing, but I definitely hear music. I hear some rappers and I hear like their hooks and I'm like, is this Yellow Card? Nick at the disco doing the
wow, Yellow Card.
You know what I'm saying? But it sounds like. Yeah,
then that's true. Like Juice WRLD, R.I.P. That's exactly right.
Like Travis, because you have the Scotts in the back. I don't mind Travis Scott, but I love Kid Cudi. Kid Cudi is my favorite artist on the planet. So good question, but more for Kid Cudi than for Travis. But Travis Scott's not bad, especially the Travis Scott meal at McDonald's. Who doesn't love that?
Have you gotten it? Maybe I'll get that.
No, I haven't.
Oh, okay.
I was thinking about like we make a bet, some type of bet during the season where the loser has to eat a Travis Scott and a J Balvin meal on the show, like within a certain.
That would be a reward for me. Like that wouldn't even like the person who wins the bet gets to do that, and the other person pays.
No, the loser has to do.
I'm saying that wouldn't. I'd lose on purpose. I don't.
You'd eat both. I don't know. I'm not I'm not super healthy eater, but that sounds disgusting.
No, I'm my nutrition it's been a wreck recently, so I'd handle that. No problem.
We don't need to get depressing here, so we'll get off of your nutrition. He wants to know what about Devin Booker? That's another one.
It's possible.
It's possible. Guy's got personality, and he's a super talented player. They got to win. We'll see what happens with him and Chris Paul if they can make a deep run into the playoffs. Like I'll tell you what he did in the bubble. Never forget the 8-0 Suns. It was the first step towards getting to being one of those face type players in the NBA. Right now, I don't think so, but if they could make a deep run and surprise some people, similar to what Luka did, if he could do kind of like what Luka did this year in the playoffs and go, you never know, it's possible.
Yeah,
I'll book like 23. I mean, he's super young too.
I think he is 23, maybe 24. I am really surprised, and we've been on this topic a while.
By the time LeBron is out of the league, Book will be in his like athletic prime. It's possible.
Yeah, it is possible. I'm really surprised you have not mentioned Ben Simmons. I thought that's been coming.
No, I don't think Ben Simmons can be the face of the league.
Okay.
He strikes me as an asshole.
He is an asshole.
Personality wise, I don't think he could be, because I'm taking into account everything.
Right.
Like I'm taking into account not just can they be the best player in the league, because we mentioned Trae Young, YDK, we did, but I just don't think point guards again can be the face of the league. But as far as when I'm talking about the face of the league, LeBron, people love, he's polarizing. You love him or you hate him, but at least you're talking about him. There's that. And I think, like, for example, if Kawhi won 5 titles in a row, he wouldn't be the face of the league. He just wouldn't. Like, he's hard to market,
Yeah.
I could be wrong there. Maybe that's a hot take, but I just don't think he would be.
I mean, he's Australia. He's huge in Australia. I mean,
Kawhi?
Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm an audio issue, I think. But Ben Simmons.
Oh no, I was saying if Kawhi won 5 titles in a row because of his personality, you wouldn't make it. I'm saying
that I agree with. Yes,
the total package of the person, it comes into it when you're talking about face of the league, and that's why I agree that Luka is he's the leader in the clubhouse right now, because not only is he just a straight up baller, not only are they really good and they have a chance to continue to be good for a long time, but the guy he's super likable. Like,
good dude.
He's fun you see him on the bench. He's fun when you hear him talk. His interviews are fun. I just think he's got I didn't even realize I'm still got my mask around my neck.
I was wondering. I didn't think it was a turtleneck, but I wasn't sure.
This is just to remind everybody, if you're going to celebrate Thanksgiving tomorrow, wear your masks. But anyways, yeah, I think to be the face of the NBA, the total package has to be taken into account, which I just don't know much about Jason Tatum to the original thing you brought up. I don't know a ton about him, so I just don't know, like, personality wise, if he's a guy the league is going to promote as like their face.
That's fair.
So, Giannis, I could see it. Luke, I could see it. Devin Booker was a good one that YDK brought up. That's a good one.
We should re-clarify for the listeners.
Boy Embiid could have been it, but he's a mess.
I was going to say, we should re-clarify for the listeners that YDK for real is a YouTube commenter. That's who we keep bringing up.
Oh yeah, guys, crushing it, bringing the heat tonight. Is that it for this topic?
I think so. I think we covered the gamut here.
Fan comments.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Well, so what are you saying? I'm saying Luka.
I'm saying Luka. Like, if somehow you could bet on this, or it was going to be established, I would say Luka, and then
which I think is remarkable, because really before last season there was no question that it was Giannis.
Right. And then I'm saying my number 2 is Jason Tatum.
Well, that's interesting, because my number 2 is Giannis.
Okay. I'm banking on these titles for the Celtics. I think they're coming. I really do.
You are such a Celtics guy. You were like,
no, I don't, and I know I'm a Sixers guy, so I'm supposed to hate the Celtics, but
yeah. All right. Well, let's start, since he's here and he's watching live. Let's start with YDK's first comment. What do you think of OKC's future with all the picks? So
that tells me.
Yeah. YDK, we love you, dude. We already love you. We love you for your comments. We love you for watching. But this is your first time, and I appreciate you being on here for the first time. I don't like Sam Presti as a GM. And I don't like the idea of fielding a team that is legitimately will not be competitive. I understand what they're trying to do, but you're not going to draft 21 first round picks. I know you could potentially package picks and all these traded player exceptions and maybe go get another player. but it's pretty much been shown that guys that Sam Presti goes out and trades for, Paul George, Carmelo Anthony, Chris Paul, guys that they don't bring up within the system, they're not going to be there long. Even guys that they have in the system, they're all gone. Over a decade ago, he had a 4-pick run that's unlike anything we've ever seen in NBA history with KD, Russ, Serge Ibaka, and James Harden. It's going to be literally basically impossible to replicate what he did with those 4 drafts. And we've seen all of his other first round picks. Steven Adams was solid, but basically everybody else has not been good. I like Darius Bazley, so the verdict's out on him. But my point is, I just don't think that, and I think Alex, you're the one, you've brought this up a few times. If they were really trying to get younger and better, trading for Kelly Oubre and then flipping Kelly Oubre was dumb, because Kelly Oubre is super young, super talented, best looking dude in the NBA, and really could have been an asset to a team that has not a lot of talent right now.
Right.
Oh, wait. No, literally, as I was saying that.
Yeah, Kelly, yeah, that popped up before. That was not reactionary.
And a first round pick, he's a dumbass. Wait. I don't like how we trade Kelly and Schroeder for a first round pick. Who's he?
You're talking about Presti. Yeah,
he's saying Presti's a dumbass. Yeah. This guy is our all-time fan right here.
Number 1 in the clubhouse. I'm going to set up some sort of website.
Yeah.
Rodney Hale, you're second. We like you too.
Yeah. No, well, let's not sleep on Brian can't cook, but hey, anyway.
Of
course. But yeah, I don't love what's happening there. Now, if he goes on another run, if his ultimate goal is he's like, hey, we're going to suck until we get Imani Bates, and they get Imani Bates, and Imani Bates becomes the next KD, I guess then he's a genius. But he doesn't have control over that, and that's the problem. This is not the NFL where the worst team gets the best pick. There's a lottery. And just stacking first-round picks and being awful, Alex can attest to this, doesn't automatically mean that you're going to get the best pick every year and that you're going to hit on every pick every year. And having a top 5 pick every year doesn't mean you're automatically going to rebuild your team. And it's Oklahoma City. So trading for players or hoping to sign players or any of that stuff doesn't work, because no matter what happens, those guys are going to leave. They don't want to be in Oklahoma City. And I also think if I was a player, just me personally, if I was a player and I saw that we had, at one point, this team had Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant, James Harden, Serge Ibaka in their prime, couldn't keep them together, couldn't win a title, I probably wouldn't want to stay there long term, because I would have concerns that team couldn't win a championship.
Amen.
I mean, that would be my issue. So so that's my answer. I don't love it. I know a lot of people do love it. They're like, holy shit, Sam Presti's a genius. How's he getting all these first round picks? Also, we had Ruben on the show, Ruben Palacios, the Sneaker King, at Ruben Talks Kicks on Twitter on Monday, I think it was. And he brought up the point. Look at, other than OKC's picks, because they're going to be bad, look at where all these picks are coming from. They're coming from the Clippers, the Heat, the Lakers, the Rockets. Potentially, we'll see what happens with the Rockets, but they're all late first round picks. So you're not building, you might get some decent players and whatever, but you're not building like a franchise off of late first round picks. So
not gonna happen.
Yeah. Good question. Thank you for asking it. See, this guy likes Kelly as much as we do.
Yeah. I'm worried we went too high on, like, Kelly Oubre has to have a great season now. We're going to look like a bunch of jackasses, or I am. But yeah, I like Kelly Oubre.
Listen, Kelly.
Hi, Daddy.
Oubre can do what he wants. All right.
That was weird. Here we go.
Let's get back to Brian Can't Cook. So we said way too early FanDuel sleepers. I mentioned the Pistons. Look, we're not FanDuel experts. FanDuel Friday probably won't come back because we are very bad at it. We were losing.
Oh, it's coming back. No, we got to do that. It's coming.
We are? Okay. Yeah. FanDuel Friday is coming back. We were losing money hand over fist.
How much were you putting in there? Jesus.
I'm poor at this
Okay.
point. You only get to see this little bit of my apartment. This is basically how big my apartment is.
Okay.
No, that's not true. I live in a palace, but it's hard to gauge this early on. But I mean, I would look at teams like the Pistons, the Kings. Like, I mean, if you think about the Kings last year, Bogdanovich was a stud in FanDuel, and so was Buddy Hield. It just, you had to figure out which one was going to go off. I like looking at the bad teams, right, trying to figure out who's going to be the guy who emerges. Like, I used to play Shabazz Napier all the time when he got traded to Washington, because he was so low money, and he would put up 20. You got to look at value. They say that, like, you got to try to get like 4 times value for what you're playing.
Right.
So, like, if you pay $5,000 for a guy, you want 20 points. And a guy like Napier, anytime he got minutes, he got 20 FanDuel points, because he would go like, he'd get you like 12 points, 2 assists, a rebound, and a steal, which is, I mean, for $5,000 on FanDuel is great. Mm-hmm. So I think if I'm looking at way too early FanDuel sleepers, I'm saying just keep an eye on some of these shitty teams and see who ends up playing in the rotation, because tell you what, there's going to be some shitty teams in the NBA because they're always
Colin Sexton, just in that same vein. Colin Sexton, I think, is a sleeper, just because Cleveland really likes him, I think. And so they're handing the keys to him. I think he could really put up numbers this year. Not that that's going to translate into anything good for Cleveland, but
yeah. Vincent Garzone, are you from New Mexico?
Good question, Vincent. No.
I have a really good answer for this. No. I think you already answered, right? Do you have an answer?
Yeah, I am not. I'm curious who it was for. Maybe he's assuming we live in the same state. No.
Well, we both answered.
Right.
So the answer for both of us is no. I have not specifically said where I'm from on this episode. You have.
I'm trying to
secret.
I'm trying to figure out what he's getting at with the question, and I think
maybe flag, or what flag is that? That's not a New Mexico flag, is it?
I don't think so. I really don't know.
I couldn't tell. I don't know.
Maybe we look like meth heads, and
maybe he won't meet up. Maybe it's like, hey, maybe he saw we were drinking. He's like, hey, it's the day before Thanksgiving. It's the busiest drinking night of the year. Let's have a beer with the NBA Morning Deuce guys. Hey, Vincent, we don't live in New Mexico, so we can't meet up with you. I'm sorry. Let's take a look at some comments from. So we started this YouTube thing last week. It's been great. All you guys who've been watching and commenting, it's been awesome. But there's been a few. Every episode hasn't been live. So we've had some comments that we said we wanted to like address on the show from some of our non-live episodes and just discuss them. So from our off-season winners and losers episode, I was very hard on the Raptors. You know what? Stand by it. But Gavin Alcock, that's
good name.
That's his name. That guy could be an NBA name of the week candidate. Gavin Alcock. He said, Raptors won. I'm sorry. You totally forgot Norman Powell. By the way, Marc Gasol really did nothing for them this postseason, and Van Fleet played well in the postseason. Hollis Jefferson, Terrence Davis, there are still a lot of pieces and are still there. You're going to be proven wrong.
Okay.
Well, I'll start with this. Rondé Hollis Jefferson is not there. He is a free agent. Maybe he'll be there because he hasn't been signed yet. Seems like a lot of teams don't really want him at this point because he hasn't been signed yet. Look, you might be right. I might be proven wrong. And maybe I was a little strong in saying there's a potential that they won't make the playoffs. They're going to make the playoffs in the East. But
I think there's a chance they don't, but they probably will. They probably
fair, right? I think it's a coin. No, it's not a coin flip. I think it's a lot better chance that they do than that they don't. Just from coaching, and they still have Kyle Lowry, Fred VanVleet, and Pascal Siakam, which is solid.
They're going to make the playoffs. Okay. They're
going to make the playoffs. But let me tell you something. The past 2 years, they've been one of the best teams in the East in the regular season. They ain't doing that this year, Gavin Alcock. It's just not happening. Like, you could say what you want about Marc Gasol doing nothing for them in the postseason, but you conveniently left out that you also lost Serge Ibaka. And I get it. Like you replaced, I mean, you lose those two guys. By the way, Terrence Davis, cool. Like Terrence Davis is a really good player. What is your point here? Is your point that Terrence Davis is going to replace the production of any of these guys? I like Terrence Davis, really good player, but like that's all he is. And you have to understand in the NBA that situation is everything, right? So on one of the best teams in the East, when he only has to come in and play 5 to 10 minutes a game, Terrence Davis is great. He's great to play 5-10 minutes a game. I don't know because you seem to be a big Raptors fan, Gavin. So you probably have watched more Terrence Davis than I have. But from what I've seen, I don't think he's like a stud. He said, you forgot about Norman Powell. I didn't forget about Norman Powell.
He's just Norman Powell. That's
right,
all.
Norman Powell.
Yeah.
You forgot about OG Anunoby. Like, I mean, if you're going to put anybody in this, put OG Anunoby. Because if OG Anunoby doesn't become a stud for you guys, like a true every night stud, then you're going to be just a middling playoff team. OG, if I'm looking at the Raptors, I'm saying the difference between them competing potentially for the East, which I don't think they have a shot at, and not, is OG Anunoby. Because your starting lineup is going to be Kyle Lowry, Fred VanVleet, who now he's got his $85 million. Let's see how much you guys love him now. OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam, and one of these bigs that they signed. Now, let me tell you this. Aaron Baines, here's what I know about Aaron Baines.
I took a look at Baines in the shower. He looks like all of Australia. He is really put together.
Yeah, I mean, so that's all I really know about Aaron Baines, right? Guys, looks like all of Australia.
All of it.
This is so. Yeah, look, Marc Gasol was bad in the playoffs, but Serge was great. Aaron Baines, I freaking love Aaron Baines for what he is. Okay, for what he is, he's a great screen setter, and he's just a hard player. He's also, by the way, he's like in his mid-30s. He's an old man. He's been in the league for a minute, or he came over late, like he went to Europe and then he came back. Alex Len, he's Alex Len. So your 5 spot got way worse, and you're steady with Kyle Lowry, Fred VanVleet, and Siakam, right? What is OG Anunoby going to do? Can he take you to the next level? I don't think so. Do you?
I'm with you. I think what's happening here, and I was. Hold on, there's an alarm going off next to me, but when the Eagles won the Super Bowl, they caught lightning in a bottle. Okay.
Oh, we're doing NFL comparisons and metaphors. Okay, I like it.
That's what happened with the Raptors. Okay, they caught lightning in a bottle, and it's tough. It's tough seeing them come down from that. I get it, but this isn't the same Raptors team. Okay, this might get pretty bleak before it gets good again. I'm trying to deal with it on the Philadelphia Eagles. Okay. You got these Raptors fans, they got to do the same thing.
Well, you're trying to deal with it with the Sixers. I was going to say
they never won a title. I'm saying I'm talking about you.
I'm trying to, but here's what I was going to say, Gavin. If you're going to learn any lesson from this show, you should learn from my co-host Alex. This is one of the most irrational Philadelphia 76ers fans on the planet, and he now understands his team's a mess, and they got to figure it out. There was a long time where it was like, oh, well, Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons are taking us to the promised land. He now knows that they are not.
It's possible. I've got a couple beers in me, so it's possible again. So how about that?
All right, well, then you didn't learn anything, Gavin. But there's your answer. Let's see what else. Oh, I like this one. Doug Smith. This is from our best remaining free agents episode. Can we get some Thon Maker talk to the Mavs going? I'm a biased Maker fan and MFFL, which is Mavs fan for life, for those who don't know. Maker seems like a very, very raw Porzingis light, which is the best description I've ever heard of anybody.
Very, very raw Porzingis light.
Yeah.
He's not Porzingis light. He's a very, very raw Porzingis light. It's amazing.
There was more of this. I just didn't type it all out, but he said Porzingis is coming back slow. Powell's coming off an ACL, and I'm not a fan anyways. He's easily replaceable and not worth the contract. Interesting. Boban is Boban. You're goddamn right he is. Kleba is a nice piece. You could turn the offense inside out, run Porzingis and Maker on the perimeter, Luka post up and kick out all day. Reed. Oh, I guess there was more that I didn't copy.
You said read more.
I'm just reading, dude. There's a lot to unpack about that comment. Well, first of all, we can talk about Thon Maker all day, baby. You want to talk Thon Maker? Let's talk.
We did talk Thon Maker.
That's right. Thank you, Doug Smith, for watching and commenting. Okay, let's talk Thon Maker going to the Cavs. I mean,
Mavericks.
Mavs to the Mavs. Yes. It's going to be a minimum deal. He could go anywhere. Yeah. He's going to sign on a minimum, so why not? Like, I think we both agree. He's very young. He's got high upside. And I don't know about the Porzingis light, very raw light Porzingis.
Yeah, that actually might be generous.
Yeah. But I do think he's got a really high upside on the defensive end. He's super long, and he's never going to – no one – listen, Porzingis is one of the best shooting big men I've ever seen. Like, period. He just shoots the shit out of the ball. Like, it's crazy watching him play basketball. It's very strange watching a 7'3" man shoot the ball the way Kristaps Porzingis does. But yeah, I mean, look, if I'm any team in the league, it's the same way we talked about Harry Giles.
Yep.
I would take a flyer on a 23-year-old kid who has this kind of upside. I love guys that were highly recruited out of high school. The way scouting works now, you don't miss guys. It's very rare. Like, there are the guys who come out, the Dame Lillards that go to small colleges and whatever. But most of these guys, they get recruited at a high level at a really young age. And Thon Maker was one of those guys. So to me, he still has that upside and he's still super young. I'm not sure what the issue is. I'm not sure why he hasn't stuck anywhere, because it seems like everywhere he's been, he's played pretty well. So sure. Hey, Doug, let's get Thon Maker to the Cavs. Let's start it right now. Hashtag Thon to the Cavs.
The Mavs, Joey.
God,
the Mavs. Jesus.
To the Mavs. Now, about the other things you said. Dwight Powell. I'm a huge fan, and I actually love his contract. Like, he's a super team-friendly contract, which is why I thought they would end up trading him. I thought they would put him in a deal to make a move. Coming off the ACL, we'll see, but like, ACLs usually come back stronger. So I think his best thing is how athletic he is. Dwight Powell is going to be fine. I actually really like Dwight Powell. He's not a true 5. I think that's probably what your issue is in his contract, but his contract's really team friendly. I think he's only making like $10 million. So it's fine. I know there's years on it, but I thought he would be in a trade. Boban is definitely Boban, and you should feel blessed for any amount of time you have Boban on your roster, because he's the funnest. I mean, he might be the face of the NBA.
He's definitely the ears of it. I'll tell you that.
Boban's the most entertaining player. He's up there for already the most entertaining players in NBA history.
I love that guy.
He's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Kleba is a nice piece. You could turn the offense inside out and run Porzingis and Maker on the perimeter and Luka post up. I'm not sure that I agree with that.
I mean, maybe a possession here and there.
Do some stuff. Listen, I'll just say this, Doug Smith. I was thinking about Gavin Alcock. Doug Smith, I'll say this. You got Steven Silas. Now you don't have Steven Silas. God damn it. I'm all mixed up.
Joey, sharpen up, bud.
Yeah. You had the best offense in the NBA last year. I don't think you would change it up for Thon Maker. It was my point.
Yeah, I get it.
I think the point is you had the best offense in the NBA last year. If you get Thon Maker, you add him into the mix, but you don't change it up because you got Thon Maker and Kristaps Porzingis on the wing or in the perimeter. Let's see. We got some other comments here. What's YDK talking about?
I do want to address YDK for real. If you're still watching,
well, I think he is, man. This guy's
jump back to, I believe it was yesterday's episode where we talked Brandon Ingram all day. I believe that's what he's talking about with BI. Has to be. I made a very bold prediction about Brandon Ingram and that he could be a scoring champion down the road.
Oh yeah, Alex.
I love me some Brandon Ingram.
Yeah,
I do think people are sleeping on him.
YDK Furl said, do you guys like BI and think he deserves a max? Most improved player, average 24 a game. I'm high on Brandon Ingram. I love Brandon Ingram. I'm not necessarily as high on Brandon Ingram in terms of being an NBA scoring champion like Alex is, but I do think that in a league where wing players rule the day, it's the most important position you can have on your team is a wing player who can get his own shot from anywhere on the floor at any time. Those are the guys who win championships. Yes, you have to. Not only does he deserve the max, whether he deserves it or not, you don't have a choice. You're the New Orleans Pelicans. You have to give Brandon Ingram the max to keep him there. 25-point a game scores, although scoring is up in the NBA and guys score points, guys that score the way Brandon Ingram does, few and far between. So he deserves it just based off that. And he's still young. Yeah, totally there. I think we're on the same page there. Yeah, people are definitely sleeping on him. Let's see. Feigned 2K22. When we were talking about the best remaining free agents, the disrespect to Isaiah Thomas. Did we not? I think we just didn't bring up Isaiah Thomas. Is that what it was?
No, you said something about how his hip injury made him like a complete afterthought or something. I don't know. I wouldn't label it as disrespectful.
Well, I wasn't disrespecting him. I was just saying,
it wasn't disrespectful.
The guy went from an MVP candidate to what he is now. He's not on a team.
Yeah.
And when Isaiah Thomas was on the Celtics, I remember I was producing a show at that time where like halfway through the season, I was like, this guy needs to be in the MVP conversations. No one's talking about it. He's averaging 28 a game. Everything he did for that team in that city, Boston, like there's no disrespect. The hip injury that he had, I had the same surgery, the torn labrum in my hip. Not for the same reasons, but I had it. And every player, they put up graphics on all the major networks. Everybody does the same graphics. Looking at guys who have had that same injury, and their careers go downhill afterwards. It's just what it is. The hip is the hardest. Achilles is obviously guys ruins careers, but the hip in general, I just know this because I had that surgery. My doctor told me that the science behind these hip surgeries is very new compared to other surgeries.
That's what you want to hear before surgery. I'll tell you that.
They know that in terms of recovery, like a lot of people who have torn labrums and have the surgery tear their labrum again. He told me that there was some Swiss study where like they like 50% of the people that they did MRIs on had torn labrums and just didn't have symptoms. They didn't know. So wow. The hip, there's a lot of things with the hip. It's the way where it is, it connects to everything in that area, because when I had a torn labrum, I had it for years and I was having pain in my abs, but they couldn't figure out what the injury was because I was having pain in my abs, and it was the torn labrum was like pulling the muscle.
That's crazy. And then your points per game plummeted after that.
Oh yeah,
right?
I got cut, dude. I was out of the league. Look at me now. I'm hosting this podcast with you. I was in the league. I was with the Hornets. Think about that. But point being, there's no disrespect to Isaiah Thomas. Just he hasn't been the same. He looked okay last year. Maybe somebody will sign him, but he's not going to ever be what he was.
Maybe he found out I was a Sixers fan and he was just talking about that unreal soundbite. Do you remember that last year? Isaiah Thomas during the Frosty freeze out, some jackass from Philadelphia said something like horrible to him, and he got an apology.
Oh, yeah.
Philly fan just wanted a Frosty.
Yeah. Last comment from our videos from this past week was from last night's video where we were talking about the Hawks. John Nartley was not happy with us. Or sort of. So, okay, here's what he said. Trae Young for Brad Beal would be stupid for the Hawks. Trae has top 5 player potential. Common misconception is that Trae is only a scorer when he is one of the best passers in the league. I would trade Collins, Hunter, and Herter with picks for Giannis. Trey and Giannis complement each other perfectly. All right, so the first thing is, yeah, fair. Trey for Brad Beal. If you think that's stupid, that's fine. But what I said in the video was I would trade them straight up for each other. Like I would trade Trey and nothing else for Brad Beal. Probably be 50-50 split, depending on who you're talking to. I don't know. I just value wing players over point guards. Trey, that doesn't mean Trey is not good. I just think Brad Beal's better. Trey has top 5 player potential. You're wrong.
I was waiting for that.
A common misconception is that Trey is only a scorer. He's one of the best passers in the league. Yeah, I think for common NBA, for like casual NBA fans, that is a misconception. And he is one of the best passers in the league. He is a great passer. There's no question about that. You're right about that. I would trade Collins, Hunter, and Herter with picks for Giannis. So would I. Trey and Giannis complement each other perfectly. Yes, they do. That's a lot to unpack. Alex, which one of those would you like to comment on?
I trading Trey for Bradley Beal would not be stupid, but I don't feel too much towards this comment. But Brad Beal, like he just led the league in scoring. Like he's that's a great move for the Hawks with what they have. I'm not that high on Trey Young. I'll be honest about that. I'm not saying he's a bad player. I'm not saying he's not a really, really good player, but Brad Beal just led the league in scoring.
Second.
Was he second? Who was first?
Harden, wasn't he?
I think Brad Beal led the league in scoring, but I'm not positive.
All right, check. I'm almost positive Beal was second, but
okay. But that's where I am. But I don't care too much for what John Nartley has to say here. He's fine. He's entitled to his opinion.
Well, I don't mind the Giannis talk because I think actually we probably overlooked that. The possibility that if Giannis is going to get traded, we basically were saying like yesterday, if you didn't see or listen to the show yesterday, based on the Bogdanovich trade and how deep the Hawks are now with young talent, they are the ideal destination if you're a team looking to trade a star. But I don't think we brought up the possibility of Giannis being a trade partner or the Bucks being a trade partner because I just don't think Giannis was on our minds for that. But it makes sense. If I'm the Bucks, I will say this, John Nartley, I agree. I mean, that would be a great deal for Giannis. If you could get away with that for Giannis, you'd be crushing it. And you might get away with that for Giannis because not a lot of teams have what the Hawks have to offer for Giannis. James Harden averaged 34.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah, I see it.
But Beal was second in the league. Dame was third. Trey was fourth. Giannis was fifth.
Point stands. I think Beal's a superior player. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, I mean, I think as an all-around player, Beal's better. And I think, again, as you watch more of this show and as you hear my thoughts, I'm just not a point guard guy. And maybe it goes against what most people think, but individual assists is sort of an overrated stat. Team assists matter. Individual assists don't necessarily matter. If you go back in the history of the game and you just look at guys who led the league in assists, very rarely are they in the NBA championship or winning championships, other than this year when LeBron led the league and won an NBA championship. But if you look at the rest of the top 5, you had Trae Young not in the playoffs, Luka out in the second round, Ricky Rubio not in the playoffs, Dame Lillard out in the first round. So that's the top 5 in assists this year, individual assists.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, being one of the best passers in the league is cool. Chris Paul is one of the best passers in NBA history, hasn't won a championship, hasn't been out of the second round. Oh no, with the Rockets.
Yeah. John Stockton, Steve Nash.
I mean, all these guys, you know, in Steve Nash in particular, right? The guy won an MVP based off of assists. So being one of the best passers in the league is great. LeBron James is the best passer, I think, potentially in NBA history. But you're not going to look back and say, oh, LeBron James, what a great passer. You know, so it's fair. It's a fair point. Trey is a great passer. What I want in a guy I'm building my franchise around, and I'll say it a million times, I want a guy who I know I can give the ball to at the end in the last 5 minutes of the game, and he can get me a bucket from anywhere on the floor at any time. Trae Young is an amazing scorer. I don't know if he's that guy. I don't know if Brad Beal is even that guy, but I think he has a better chance of being that guy than Trae Young does.
Well said. Well said. I wonder if John Nartley is listening. I hope he is.
I hope so.
Watching.
Jose Lugo wants to know who y'all got as MVP. Who y'all think going to be MVP in 2021? I'm assuming he means this year, 2021.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good question. I think you think it's going to be Jason Tatum.
No, I think it's going to be Luka. I think Luka's numbers are going to be absolutely stupid this year.
Look, if we're just saying right now, entering the season, who's going to be MVP? Yeah, I would go with Luka solely based off the fact that he is the current media love story, right? Everyone loves Luka, and for a good reason. The guy's great. But it's recency bias, right? Like we talked about it. Bovada's the odds. They have him first to win MVP. The last time we saw Luka, he looked like the best player on the planet. And he's going into a year where the team's just going to get better. He's going to get better. His stats were already incredible. And no one's going to vote for Giannis. They're just not going to do it because they're not going to give him, after losing in the playoffs, he's not going to get it 3 years in a row. So the favorite obviously has to be Luka. The question becomes, who's going to be the next guy who emerges? Is it going to be Jason Tatum? Is it going to be Devin Booker now that he has Chris Paul? What can Devin Booker do now with Chris Paul? Huge sleeper, right?
Yeah.
Is Book on here? Book at plus 3,500 on Bovada.
That's good value. That's a fun bet. If you just talk down $50 on that, I mean, that's
with Chris Paul. That dude could average 30 a game. He could lead the league in scoring this year.
Those are great. I actually bet on Luka last year at 2,500, and it was like I was so excited because I thought he was going to pull ahead, and then obviously with COVID and Giannis, it didn't come through. But that's a fun bet to follow throughout the year. If you can get Devin Booker at 3,500 on Bovada, I think you'll at least enjoy yourself. If you don't put your life savings on it, put $10 on it. Okay.
I think that's it, dude. YDK said, I know we're not talking about NFL, but what do y'all think about DK?
Don't make me. You know I'm an Eagles fan. You know we took J.J. Arcega-Whiteside ahead of him. That's one of the it could go down as one of the worst picks in Eagles history. It already is. So that he's just an animal. He's stupid how good he is.
Yeah, I'm not a big again, I watch NFL just because I gamble and I play daily fantasy. But what I know about him is that he is an absolute freak of nature. He's a very muscular human.
Mm-hmm.
Very tall for a wide receiver.
And fast. Two good qualities to have.
He's very tall. He's very fast. He's very athletic. We're talking about DK Metcalf here for people who are wondering.
Maybe he's asking about Donkey Kong for Nintendo or something.
Ooh. I love Donkey Kong.
Great game.
I was great at Donkey Kong back in the day. Anything else, Alex? I mean, this is the longest episode we've ever done, but I think it's good. I think we're giving the people what they want, answering some questions, having a little pre-Thanksgiving fun. We wanted like a Hornet story. Should we end on a Hornet story?
Yeah, let's get a Hornet story.
What type? Let me ask you this: what type of Hornet story do you want? Because I
know you teased kind of the I can't believe this is happening in NBA locker room type of story. That's what I want.
NBA locker room.
Well, I can't believe not a locker room. I can't believe an NBA organization. Sure, yeah, perfect.
So here's the thing. Here's what we got. I'm going to let you decide unless someone comments. So for those of you who are watching for the first time, there's a few of you still here with us. I was with the Charlotte Hornets they're the Bobcats and the Hornets for 5 years. So I could do a draft. I have a few MJ. I only have one or two MJ stories because I was not in the circle. It's hard to get in that circle, but I have a great NBA. I have a great Michael Jordan draft night story.
That's the one I think.
I have some really intense, really crazy, practice stories. And then I have some just locker room stories that are pretty good too. I have a great Charles Oakley story, but it's very short on the bus after a game. So unless someone comments, Alex, what do you want?
Did you meet Kemba? There you go.
Oh, Kemba's my
dude.
yeah.
YBK for real is with us for the long haul tonight. No,
Yeah,
we're close enough to the draft. It's got to be the draft story.
Kemba's my guy. Kemba, I love that kid. I was there when we drafted him. I was there for his workouts. I was there for the first 5 years of his career. One of the best people you'll ever meet. I gotta be honest. I was happy when he ended up in Boston because I want to see him win, and I know how competitive he is. And when I was in Charlotte, we didn't win very much. So I was happy for him. Actually, I can tell you a funny Kemba story.
Okay, yeah.
So just a quick one. So actually, this is there's a long story ahead of this, right? So, and I can tell that story too. But when Mike Dunlap was our coach, by the way, fuck that guy. He was the head coach of an NBA team. You probably have never heard of him because he's the worst head coach in NBA history. There was a point where he made me, if you want, I can get into this story, but this is sort of a long story. He made me sit in his chair in his office, and I had to pretend to be him, and he had to pretend to be me. Yes, an NBA coach did this. So this is
a video scout.
I was a video scout. Yes. This is the craziest story I have, period, in my time in the NBA. I could tell this story and then tell why Kemba ties into it. Okay. So my first year in the league, Larry Brown was the coach. My second year in the league, or my first year in the league, Larry Brown was our head coach. He got fired. Then they hired Paul Silas. We won 7 games. Paul Silas got fired. Then they hired Mike Dunlap. Charlotte, this is almost the epitome of the Charlotte Hornets organization. I was a video scout, or for video coordinator was the title of the position at one time. Then it became video scout. And for anybody who knows what a video coordinator or a video scout is, you're in the office at 6 a.m. You're the last person to leave. You watch hours and hours of tape. You break down all the tape for the team, whatever. My first 3 years with the organization, I didn't have a parking spot. Like, they wouldn't let me park at the arena. I either had to walk from my apartment, which was downtown, but pretty far, a few miles, or I had to find paid parking. So usually I just walked a few miles every day to go to work. But when Dunlap got hired, in one of his first meetings, he was like, I know how hard you guys work. There's nothing too big or too small. If you have anything you need, let me know. So I went into his office and I'm like, hey, coach, listen, you said no, nothing too big or too small. And I know this is small, but I'm here all the time and they don't let me park under the arena, in the parking spots. So I need a spot to park.
Pretty reasonable. That seems very reasonable.
Oh, no. And he goes, done. Done. You got it. It's like, oh, great. He's like, yep, tomorrow, come in, park under the arena. Oh, this is great. Got a parking spot. Come in the next day, guy at the gate. What's your name? It's Joey Levin. You're not on the list. Like, oh yeah, Coach Dunlap told me I'm good. He said he's like, well, Coach Dunlap doesn't control the list for this parking lot. So he's like, I'm going to let you park here today, but just get it figured out, whatever. So next day, I don't do anything about it. I go to practice, whatever. Next day, come back, I park, go to park. Guy's like, listen, I'm going to let you park here today, but you can't park here tomorrow. Coach Dunlap doesn't control this parking lot. Fred Whitfield does, who is the president of the team on the business side at the time, which is, again, what the fuck. But so this is like training camp still. I go, the day goes on, we go to practice, whatever. I go into his office after practice, knock on the door. I'm like, hey, coach, just wanted to give you a heads up. I've been parking in the under the arena for the past couple of days, but the guy keeps telling me that I'm not on the list and this and that, and that you need to get it approved by Fred and this. He's like, huh? What? What's it? What? And I'm like, yeah, you told me a couple days ago that I could park here, and that it was done. And he's like, parking spot? What are we talking about? You're talking about a parking spot? And I'm like, yeah, I just can't park here. Like, I don't have a way to park when I come to work. He's like, are you kidding me? Like, parking spot? He's like, do you understand what you're coming in here right now at this time of the day and asking me about? Do you tell me you don't have a place to park? Do you know what I do? Do you know what my job is every day? Do you know how hard I'm about to cut Jeff Adrian. I have to tell a man.
Holy shit.
He's like, I have to go tell a man that he's cut from the team, which also is not a head coach's job.
Right.
By the way, that's a GM's job. He's like, do you understand? He's like, I don't think you understand. I'm like, yeah, I get it. I get what. He's like, I don't think you understand what he's like, you know what? Do me a favor. I want you to sit in my chair and understand what my job is like. I don't know, coach. I don't really feel totally like that's necessary. No, you're going to sit in my chair. Sit in my chair.
Whoa.
And I'm going to show you what it's like to be in my position. So he gets up, he goes on the other side of his desk, and he sits in where I would sit, and I sit in his chair. And he's like, all right, now act like I'm you and I just walked into the office. And at this point, I'm just like, well, fuck it. Here we go. And I like put my head down, I look up and I go, Mike, what can I do for you? And he acts like a snob, like a sniveling little idiot. He's like, hey, coach, I can't park. I need help with my parking spot. Can you help me? I'm like, Jesus Christ. I'm like, Mike, we just can't get it done right now. We're not. I was in character. I'm pretending to be him. I'm trying to be like good about this and whatever. We go back and forth for a minute. I'm like, yeah, just, it's unfortunate. I'm going to try to help you and do what I can. But, like right now I don't control the spots. So, it's the middle of the season. We got a lot going on. And he's like, oh, but, and he keeps doing like this thing. And I'm like, yeah, sorry. Don't know what to tell you. Then he stops and he goes, do you get it now?
Like his exercise worked perfectly.
He goes, and there's a parking lot across the street from the arena, like a paid parking structure. He goes, how much does it cost to park in the structure across the street? I'm like, I think it's like $1,000 for the year or something, some crazy number. And he's like, done. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, I'll pay for it. I was like, are you okay? He's like, get me the invoice.
Oh, we got a cat.
Get the invoice, give it to my secretary. I'll pay for it. I was like, oh, okay. And that's it. That was it.
And he did it? He did it?
He did.
So he just needed to have his little power trip.
It was unbelievable. Wow. So this is how it ties into Kemba, right? This is how it ties into Kemba. Brunson was one of our assistant coaches at the time, and we were super close. So I walk into Rick's office and I go, dude, you're never going to believe what just happened. And I tell him the whole story. And as I'm telling him the story, Kemba's walking by. And he goes, yo, Kemba, come in here. He's like, Joey, tell Kemba this story. And I tell Kemba this story. And I swear to God, for the next 4 years or 3 years that I'm 3 years that I'm there with Kemba, it didn't matter where we were. It could be on the bench before a game. It could be walking onto the airplane. It could be in the locker room with Dunlap right in front of us. If I walk by Kemba would stand up and he'd go, hey, Joester, because he'd call me, because Dunlap would give everyone nicknames. He called me Joester and he called Kemba K-Man.
Oh, God.
So I call Kemba K-Man and he would call me Joester. So every time I would stand up, I would walk by Kemba would stand up and go, Joester, sit in my chair. Didn't matter where it was, anywhere. Dunlap could literally be standing right next to him and he could be sitting down and he would stand up and go, hey, Joester, sit in my chair.
That's incredible.
And I always would.
How long did he last? Less than a year?
He tripled the win total and got fired after one season.
go. YDK for real. Did that land for you? I mean, you're not going to get that anywhere else. That's gold.
That's the most, in terms of something that happened specifically to me, it's the most insane NBA story I have. I got some other ones, but we'll save it for the next time.
Yeah, we're gonna have time to fill down the road, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
That one didn't disappoint. You're 1 for 1 in stories paying off.
No, I didn't meet Devontae. I was gone out before Devontae and Miles got there. All right, guys. Thank you guys all for watching so much. This is by far the longest one we've done. I really appreciate all the comments. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. If you're listening on Apple, leave us a rating and review. And we'll be back tomorrow morning on the pod, and we will have another YouTube video up. We'll be live next week on Thursday night, and when the season starts, we'll be live 5 nights a week. Stick with us. We really appreciate it. And have a happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Stay safe.